Realizing a lifelong dream, I ventured off on a photographic safari to Kenya. Armed with many rolls of film, I was prepared for anything. Having left Aurora a couple of days early to visit friends in London, I did not get to meet any of my fellow traveling companions until arrival in Nairobi. So, while flying high above the clouds and throughout the entire long 8-hour flight, the excitement of the adventure was clouded by not knowing what to expect once in Africa alone. My apprehension quickly dissipated as soon as I met the rest of the group and we were off on our new adventure. I found Nairobi to be a strange mixture of new modern buildings along with the old native cultures. Wandering through the local craft and food markets amidst a sea of black faces, I realized how one totally feels in the minority. The smells encountered in the food area were so overwhelming I had to wonder what I would be eating the remainder of the trip or if I wanted to eat at all. Up and out early the next morning, with anxious anticipation of what we would find on our first game drive, the long drive to Samburu Game Reserve, passing many villages along the way, seemed never-ending. The excitement of our first game drive was heightened by each new species we came across. Roaming free all around us were the giraffe, ostrich, baboons, and the Gravy's zebra, which differs from the zebras found in the Masai Mara by their narrow stripes. Oryx with their long spear-like horns, and the black-faced monkeys with their long tails sitting in a tree. The smallest members of the antelope family, standing only 14 inches tall, is the dik-dik. Unlike other African antelope species, there are no herds of dik-dik. They form monogamous pairs that stand guard over their own territory. They can run up to a speed of 26 miles an hour. The reticulated giraffe's coat consists of large liver-colored spots outlined by a network of bright white lines. Males reach a towering 18 feet tall and weigh between 2,400 and 4,200 pounds. They can gallop up to speeds of 35 miles per hour. They need 75 pounds of vegetation per day, but only drink water every 2 to 3 days. The large reddish mound in the lower right is a termite mound. Next, we passed a small herd of Thompson gazelles munching away on the grasses. In Samburu, we motored around in open-top jeeps for full game viewing. The conditions of the roads made our worst gravel roads look like superhighways. Late in the drive, we came upon a herd of about 35 elephants. There we sat in awe as they passed all around us. Numbering 3 to 5 million in the last century, African elephant populations were severely depleted due to the current levels of the hunting in the 1980s. An estimated 100,000 were killed each year. In recent years, the growing demand for ivory, particularly from Asia, has led to a surge in poaching. Population of elephants that once showed promising signs of recovery could be at risk due to the recent surge in poaching for the illegal ivory trade. A little further, we stopped to observe a family of baboons munching on apples that someone had discarded. Baboons are some of the world's largest monkeys, weighing up to 82 pounds. Female baboons are half the size of the males, and baboons can live up to 30 years. Our accommodations for the night were at the Samburu Serena Lodge. The grounds were nestled in the trees amongst beautiful flowering bougainvilleas. Its warning sign, was a reminder of the dangers around us. Wild animals are dangerous. It is dangerous to walk near or bathe in the swimming pool during the hours of darkness. The lodge accepts no liability for loss or damage to property or personal injury, whether fatal or otherwise, by wild animals. The outdoor lobby area and dining area provide a great atmosphere to enjoy the beautiful surroundings. During dinner around the swimming pool, we were entertained by two of the Royal Scottish bagpipers who were guests at the lodge. They were a little out of uniform, though. The food was surprisingly excellent. In the evening, we sat around the outside terrace and watched the crocodiles devour the huge bones that were thrown to them. Although seeing the size of those bones, I wondered what kind of meat we ate. The accommodations were scattered around the grounds, offering many different types of lodging. One of the deluxe accommodations was a tent surrounded by a protective structure. Ours was a cute little duplex amongst the trees, complete with indoor plumbing, although the shower pressure left a lot to be desired as it ran down the wall. Sharing our room was this little bug. I hoped it didn't bite. Scurrying around the grounds were several agama lizards. Agama lizards are usually brown and grow about 10 to 14 inches long. The dominant males display bright coloring in which his body turns dark blue-green and the head and neck turn bright orange or red. This hue is prominent during mating season. We also discovered a giant tortoise meandering along, which can be 4 feet long, weigh up to 650 pounds, and live about 100 years. We were treated to a program performed by the Samburu dancers. They are proud of their culture and traditions. They still cherish and retain the costumes and ceremonies of their ancestors. The Samburu people are completely dedicated to the raising and nurturing of their cattle. Their cattle are their life, their wealth, and their livelihood. They demonstrated their butterfly dance, which the men form one circle, the women form another. The men primarily dance by jumping vertically up and down while rhythmically chanting. Women bounce, flip, and swirl their magnificent collars of beads. This was definitely something we had never seen before and don't think it will ever catch on in this country. Continuing on, we made a stop at the equator, where we were able to stand with one foot in the northern hemisphere and the other foot in the southern hemisphere. There were a few old boarded-up shacks in a clearing alongside the road. A man with his rickety old cart pulled by 2 old donkeys. Several cattle foraging for something to eat. And I also had the opportunity to trade a t-shirt which I had brought for a carved antelope. We had been told the people loved to trade souvenirs, and I was prepared. Several children watched intently as to what we were doing in this barren landscape. It also gave us a chance to observe them and their surroundings. Our lunch stop for the day was at the Mount Kenya Safari Club. This was really a little bit of paradise in the geographical center of Kenya. The grounds were lavish with many varieties of birds adorning the landscape. The club is a relaxing retreat for rest and endless exciting adventure in appreciation of its unspoiled natural wonders, the great snow-capped mountain, Mount Kenya, the exotic flowers and birds, and the animals and superb sunny weather. The club's fame grew as it attracted members and guests such as Sir Winston Churchill, Lyndon Johnson, and royalty from other parts of the world. film and theater stars such as founder William Holden, Clark Gable, John Wayne, Trevor Howard, Bing Crosby, and Bob Hope. I could just visualize William Holden strolling in his day. Today it is a mecca for those who wish to make the best for their visit to Kenya to enjoy its quiet opulence and real natural beauty and the excitement of exploring the best of Africa. One of the many species of birds found strolling around was the Marlborough stork. It stands up to 5 feet tall and has a wingspan of 10 feet. Its knee joint bends forwards, which was really strange looking. It is a scavenger with a naked head and neck for easier access to the carcass. This large and powerful bird eats mainly carrion, scrap, and feces, but will opportunistically eat almost any animal matter it can swallow. That night was to be a sleepless one, as we were spending it at the Ark. The Ark is a game lodge situated on the edge of a waterhole in Salt Lick. The Ark comprises of 3 decks from which numerous balconies and lounges provide a superb location for wildlife to be seen. Upon arrival, we discovered an elephant and 3 lions quenching their thirst. Each hour led to new excitement. First, one water buffalo appeared out of the jungle. He was old and carried many battle scars. His normally long and curved horns were broken off and well worn. Upon a signal from him, the rest of the herd, one by one, wandered out of the jungle. In all, about 50 of these big, beautiful creatures delighted our ever-watching eyes. Also delighting our eyes that evening was Stephanie Powers. She was there discussing the making of a movie. African elephants are the largest land animals on Earth. They have longer pregnancies than almost any other mammal and carry their calves for 22 months. They are slightly larger than their Asian cousins and can be identified by their larger ears that look somewhat like the continent of Africa. African elephant ears radiate heat to help keep these large animals cool, but sometimes the African heat is too much. Elephants are fond of water and enjoy showering by sucking water into their trunks and spraying it all over themselves. Afterwards, they often spray their skin with a protective coating of dust. This one is sure having a good time digging in the water hole. The next chapter of excitement unfolded as we watched 4 female lions stalk a water buffalo. The fight was on. Time after time, the lions attacked the buffalo. Each time he fended them off. It was exciting to watch, but no one really wanted to see the kill. And we didn't. The buffalo got away into the jungle. The next several hours were spent watching the lions stalk many of the animals that came to drink. We were lucky enough, however, to have 2 white rhinos pay a visit, which is a very rare sight. The lighting wasn't the best in the world, but at least we got to see them. In the morning, we stopped at the Aberdare Country Club, where we were greeted by a band of locals dressed in their native attire. They were very happy to see our guide and gave us the opportunity for some picture taking. Also gathering around our group were several local children with their hands out as one of our escorts had brought along a bag of candy to give to them. As we continued on, we came across a zorse standing alongside of a fence. A zorse is foaled by a zebra stallion and a mare horse, and are extremely rare. Our next stop was at a local Kikuyu home. They had a patch of garden growing on the hillside, a couple of small outbuildings, one for the animals, one for their boys' bedroom, and an indoor kitchen where we were shown their lifestyle, open fire and no running water. We were invited onto her patio outside her bedroom where she prepared bananas for each of us. It is amazing how these people even survive. It was back to Nairobi for our flight to the Masai Mara. We landed on a remote airstrip with not a thing around. We were met by several jeeps and off we went across the Mara, dust flying behind us. The roads before were bad, but these were non-existent. The best way to travel was to stand up and hang on. It was a better ride than any carnival ride around. We had all been thrilled by the sights we had seen so far, but the next 2 days were even better. Many more kinds of animals and in larger numbers. At one point we sat in the middle of a pride of about 30 lion cubs and their mothers, just enjoying their beauty. Lions are the only cats that live in groups, which are called prides. Prides are family units that may include up to 3 males, a dozen or so females, and their young. Female lions are the pride's primary hunters. They often work together to prey upon antelopes, zebras, wildebeest, and other large animals of the open grasslands. Many of these animals are faster than lions, so teamwork pays off. Our accommodations for the night were at the Kichwa Tembo Safari Camp, situated on the edge of a woodland overlooking the rolling savanna plains of the Mara. The beautiful grounds offered a very serene and peaceful atmosphere. Our quarters were in a tent. We were warned to be sure to keep the zipper closed when we left so that the monkeys could not get in. There was a zipper in the back of the tent that opened up into a complete bathroom. The hot water heater was a 55-gallon barrel over an open fire. All night, an armed guard patrolled the area to make sure the fires stayed lit and to keep the wild animals away. The next morning we discovered a lioness finishing her kill on a topi antelope. We watched in amazement only a few feet away. Undisturbed by our presence, she continued her breakfast. As she finished, she wandered over to our tour jeep and nuzzled against the tire and scratched her head on the bumper. As I stood there in this open-top jeep, I wondered if she was still hungry. It would have been nothing for her to join us in the jeep. Our guide assured us that she was full, and she just wandered off. After lunch, we visited a Maasai village and greeted some of its people. These people live on the milk and the meat of their animals. They eat nothing that grows in the ground. Their huts are made of sticks and cow dung and nothing inside. The village consists of a few huts surrounded by piled tree branches. The cows are herded into the center of the village during the night to protect them from the wild animals. So imagine the condition of the village after a shower. Wonderful smells. It was fascinating to watch the faces of these people as they viewed one of our group's video recorders as she played it back to them. They had never seen themselves since they have no mirrors. Young boys are sent out with their calves and lambs as soon as they can toddle. But childhood for boys is mostly playtime, with the exception of the ritual beatings to test courage and endurance. Girls are responsible for chores, skills which they learn from their mothers at an early age. One rite of passage from boyhood to status of junior warrior is the circumcision ceremony performed without anesthetic. In modern times, boys living close to towns with doctors may endure the ceremony in safer conditions, but still without anesthetic, because they must endure the pain that will lead them to manhood. This ritual is typically performed by the elders, who use a sharpened knife and makeshift cattle hide bandages for the procedure. The boys must endure the operation in silence. Expressions of pain bring dishonor. Any explanations can cause a mistake in the delicate and tedious process, which can result in lifelong scarring, dysfunction, and pain. The healing process will take 3 to 4 months, and boys must remain in black clothes for a period of 4 to 8 months. The flightless ostrich is the world's largest bird. They are fleet, strong runners who can sprint up to 43 miles an hour and run over a distance at 31 miles an hour. We spotted a herd of wildebeest and zebra grazing in the grassy savanna and open woodlands of the plains. More than 1.5 million wildebeest migrate every year, and the migration is recognized as one of the 7 wonders of the natural world. A few Burchelli zebras grazed amongst the grasses. They differ from the gravy zebra by their wide stripes. Each zebra has an individual stripe pattern, and with no two being alike. They stay in family groups of a stallion and several mares, but different families will come together in huge herds of hundreds of zebras. They will mingle with wildebeest, ostriches, and antelope while they graze. In the distance, we could see several Marlborough storks and vultures. As we approached, we saw that they were busy devouring the remains of a zebra that they had brought down. Unfortunately, that is nature's way. The baboon, of all the primates in East Africa, most frequently interact with people. Apart from the humans, baboons are the most adaptable to the ground-dwelling primates and live in a wide variety of habitats. Intelligent and crafty, they can be agricultural pests, so they are treated as vermin rather than wildlife. Baboons usually sit in small groups, grooming each other while the juveniles play. They forage for about 3 hours in the morning, rest during the heat of the day, and then forage again in the afternoon before returning to their sleeping places, where they spend more time in mutual grooming, a key way of forming bonds among individuals as well as keeping the baboons clean and free of external parasites. They say that a waterbuck's body odor is so bad that it deters predators. I wonder if that is why he is standing alone. Giraffe are one of the most iconic and easily recognizable mammal species to all people of all ages and backgrounds from around the world. Historically, giraffes roamed throughout most parts of Kenya, and they played an important cultural role in the indigenous communities. Apart from their meat for sustenance, their hides and tails were prized for their strong leather and used as bridal gifts. Rapid expansion of the human population and the consequent changes in land use practice has severely fragmented the habitat and range of the giraffe in Kenya. The main threats to the giraffe in Kenya include loss of suitable habitat due to clearing of land for agricultural, tree cutting for firewood and building, and infrastructure development. Poaching and indiscriminate snaring of meat, bones, bone marrow, and tail hair is a major threat to the populations. Predation by carnivores, especially high amongst young calves. The Maasai giraffe differs from the reticulated giraffe by the shape of their brown patches. Maasai giraffe patches have a much lacier look. Warthogs are members of the same family as domestic pigs, but present a much different appearance. These sturdy hogs are not among the world's most aesthetically pleasing animals. Their large flat heads are covered with warts, which are actually protective bumps. Warthogs also sport 4 sharp tusks. Both the male and female topee have horns. The males are slightly larger, but if the female detects danger during labor, she can simply delay the birthing process and run off. This little black-faced vervet monkey looks so lonely sitting all alone on a log. That afternoon, we experienced one more rarity. We tracked down a herd of wild dogs and waited for them to go after their kill. We found them sleeping under a couple of trees. We watched and waited. Up and away, we chased them for a long time, losing them in a ravine, only to find them moments later still on the run. We chased them for a couple of hours, finally losing them. When we found them again, moments later, they had brought down a Thompson gazelle and literally shredded it. Elephant hunting, which used to be an accepted activity in Kenya, was banned in 1973, as was the ivory trade. Illegal hunting continues as there still is international demand for elephant tusks. Kenya pioneered the destruction of ivory as a way to combat this black market. It is estimated that there has been a 75% loss of these beautiful animals during the last several years. Off in the distance stood a lonely hippo munching on the grasses. A little further we discovered several hippos in the water. Hippos can't swim or float. They walk or stand on the surface below the water like sandbars. Even so, they spend most of the day in the water to protect their sensitive skin from the sun. Most adult hippos resurface every 3 to 5 minutes to breathe. This is an automatic process. Even sleeping hippos will surface to breathe without waking. Hippos usually come out of the water for 4 to 5 hours at night to graze. It is time for our journey to end, say goodbye to newfound friends, and begin the long trek back home. Before we could take off in our 6-passenger plane, a jeep had to clear the runway of any lions or other creatures that might be lurking. A few hours in Nairobi to finish up last-minute shopping, and one final trip through the local market, just so we didn't forget the smell, and it was time to board our flight home. During the long flight home, I had lots of time to reflect on the sights, sounds, and smells of the week. Every time I see a picture of an elephant, giraffe, zebra, or any one of these beautiful animals, I remember the thrill of being there among them in their world, half world away from mine.